Alright guys, so I went through all this yesterday and did a lot of wiring stuff, but I lost all the footage, unfortunately. Not that you want to watch me do all that anyway. But what I did is I just went through all the wiring. So all these right here to my sensors for, let's see, we got EGT, boost, fuel pressure, oil pressure, trans temp. Got all those labeled to where they went, what they were for. I'm going to be rewiring most of them anyway, but just to know where they're going. So factory harness. Also went through the factory harness. Very careful with all these clips because they get brittle. But went through the whole factory harness. Labeled every connection, every single one of them. So I know exactly where it went, what it's for. So I'm going to try and go through this and cut out a bunch of wires that aren't being used. The factory harness. Make my own harness to incorporate all my new stuff that I got. Sensors and fog lights and whatever else I got going on. Clean everything up in here. Make everything look nice. That's a factory harness. It's not in too bad a shape. There's a few connectors that's been messed with and somebody's trying to repin them and all that, so kind of a pain to go through everything. Starter, power and grounds, gonna be redoing all that. All the light bulbs, all the sockets, everything's gonna be brand new sockets. I'm gonna repin them for the new harness. Try to reutilize some of the factory connections, just repin them so we can keep everything nice and clean. Transmission harness. I'm going to be running a 47RH for a little while, and then I'm going to switch to an Allison 1000 6-speed, so don't know how long till then. Just money wise, takes a while to get some parts. Can't really afford a whole lot right now, so just doing what I can, messing with wires. So I did all that, and then we came in here. Whoa, we came in here. What we got going on in here? I got some of the dash out, got the cluster out for all my gauges. They're pretty well wired up, but where they come into the dash, I'm going to redo them, get it all loomed up and tied up nice to run through here. Maybe clean up my light switch harness that I made for the 08 light switch and all the relays. That might be something that's relocated underneath the hood to make all that work, but we'll see when we get there. Got to go through and redo the Chevy tow mirrors as well. They're wired up pretty good, but I want to redo some of the connectors, all the switches for the doors, and all the wiring that goes through the door itself for your switches and your speakers. And I got door poppers that are wired up in there. Kind of want to go through all that and redo it. A little more professional of a job. There's some shorts in here for my switches, kind of a common issue on these older trucks. The door open and close and you get little shorts in there. So both sides, drivers and passengers, are like that. Got some big plans for the rear doors, so definitely gonna have to rewire all of that once I'm done. Those of you guys that follow along probably already know what I'm gonna be doing in there, but yeah. So what else? Yeah, like just really going through all this stuff up on here. Kind of got a mess going on. Because I got my alarm kit automatic start, all that's right there, all the relays and everything, but just wires running all over the place, bundled up. Try to clean everything up in here, redo all the wires for the radio, because the guy that did it before me couldn't have a bundle up mess in there. Again, on a lot of the wires I'm not going to be using, because I'm using RCA cables for the sound system in the back. What else? Yeah, wire up the whole sound system. Really run all new speaker wire to all the speakers and get that cleaned up. There's some stuff later on down the road if I can ever get parts, but I got air ride set up in my ashtray, gauges. This was for my water meth injection that I'm not sure I'm going to put it back in, but yeah. Here's a little gauge, a little place for my air ride. Someday I'll get it hooked up, actually get my air ride parts. I'm going to utilize the glove box to put some of my controllers for the 12 valve, do AFC live, stuff like that, boost controllers, whatever else. I kind of want to throw them in there where I can have easy access, but it's out of the way, not super obvious out here in the dash. Try to keep everything kind of clean and somewhat factory looking, even though I got a bunch of gauges and some custom stuff in here, but for the most part, at a glance, it looks factory. Yeah, that's really it. Probably have to pull the headliner. Yeah, pull the headliner out, because I gotta see if I can get you to look over there. Rewire the dome light, and then the third brake light is no longer utilized, and I don't need it for my transmission because I'm talking about 47 or don't need it for my transmission because I'm not gonna be running the E4OD anymore. Yeah, gotta go through all the wiring and figure out exactly what I need to do for all that junk, but as you can see, I pulled out my sub box and starting to pull out the back seat. And also, let's see, I gotta wire up that little guy there. That's shoot, I forgot what that's out of. Pretty sure it's a Chevy tow or a Chevy mirror. Yeah, pretty sure that's a Chevy mirror. I gotta wire up. Auto dimming has your directions and temperature and all that stuff in it, so a little bit of wiring to do in there. Yee. Alright, I'm back. Whoa. Start clipping all these freaking wires, man. Air ties. Pulling wires through. Not really rocket science. On the other side. Take you with me. Alright, fishing wires back through. These all go to my gauges. This one here is my trans. EGTs. Coolant temp. And fuel pressure. Yep. So some of them have plugs on the end, so they're gonna have to come back through this way. So I'm gonna have to see how I got it hooked up on the inside. Yeah. Pretty sure I can just cut the splices on the inside and pull them back through. Probably just come out here and do them that way, but I don't know. We'll look inside and see. Alright. Hey, you like my rat's nest of wires now? You got most of them pushed through here. That through. Alright. Yeah. So, get in here. Yeah, I did. I just kept them all bundled together. Made it pretty easy. Come up through here. Oh, don't ever use tape. Always use zip ties. Makes your life easier when you gotta come back through and redo all this. Alright, we're just cutting zip ties. Kinda as we go. Make sure you don't cut your wires. Like I was saying, it's a lot easier when you're wiring stuff if you use zip ties and not electrical tape, like some dum-dum did right here. Dum-dum being me. Probably ran out of zip ties or something stupid, but it makes life a little more difficult. And when you got those sticking out, they suck. You cut your hand on them. There. Yeah, when you're doing this, just be really careful not to get a wire. The last thing you want to do is have to come back through here and chase shorts or whatever. Which is what makes zip ties a lot better choice, because it's easy to cut them off and come back and redo stuff and reroute stuff and do whatever it is you need to do. Another shitty thing about tape is it leaves sticky residue everywhere, so it gets all over your hand, all over other stuff. It's just not fun stuff to work with. Use that cheap electrical tape. Just gonna pull this A-pillar pod out. See if I can do it one-handed anyway. Alright. Yeah. And I'm not sure. Oh, that goes for my alarm system. That's right. Alright. I got a nice little connector here. This is when I first started doing stuff, so probably not the best connector or wiring job. But all this, I'll give you a good look on the inside. So all this is wired up, tapped, soldered in there nice and good. This is a factory A-pillar with a glow shift pillar pod, glued and molded, painted onto it, so make everything kind of nice. Probably redo it a little bit, but it turned out alright. For these two that still have cables going to them, I don't want to cut them, so on both ends I have connector, factory connector, and I don't want to splice wires and repin things and deal with all that because they're plenty long. So these just push in to the pillar pod, push them out, and then they just disconnect. Alright, so I was going to show you, when you wire these, make sure you get plenty of wire. You can wrap it up and stick it down in there. It's not going to hurt anything. You don't want to limit yourself, you know, how much you can pull these things out, because, yeah, makes life. Alright, so now we got all those disconnected from the gauges themselves. Yeah, we can just pull these through. Get everything ran down onto the floor, so it's not going to tangle up on anything behind the dash. You want to make sure they're not grabbing on anything. You're not stripping a bunch of the casing off, like on this metal piece. You just want to make sure it's coming. And if you come to a snag, which I kind of am, just go find out what's wrong. Don't ink on them. Break wires and end up with. Okay, so finishing up pulling the gauges out. Wiring harness that I made runs along the factory harness back in the dash. Pulled my radio adapter thingy out so I can get up in here. I got two screws to hold that center pod that I made in there, so I just gotta hit those up real quick. And these little ratcheting things come in super handy, by the way. Getting super tight spaces with them. Love them. Just lifts up. You can see how it's connected in there. Just made two little aluminum tabs on this housing and glued it in there, molded it to the dash so everything fits nice and snug and clean. So go ahead and disconnect all those. I think that's it for today. As always, it's getting dark on me. I don't want to lose too much light for you guys so you can't see what I'm doing, but yeah, I try to make these videos every day after I get off work or when I can, so it's usually kind of late, and so lighting's not always that great, but do what I can, show you what I'm doing, and hopefully it helps some of you guys out. Yeah,